So, you want to know how to counter Genji. Have you ever been killed over and over again and you have no idea how you even died? Is Genji a complete mystery to you? If so, in this video, I'll go over what helped me shut him down for good. First of all, to counter Genji, you fully need to understand how his kit works. It's not complex, but there are a few things that you have to think about when fighting him. For primary fire, he quickly throws 3 shurikens in a burst. It's important to note that the shurikens have no fallout damage, but they do travel extremely slowly compared to other projectiles. For secondary fire, he throws the same 3 shurikens, but this time it's more of a spread, and a big one at that. Usually it's mostly used at short to medium range. These projectiles are faster and are useless at long range. His passive allows him to double jump, and this is why you see Genji players jumping around so often. His L shift ability is called Swift Strike. Genji slashes through enemies in a forward motion. The part you need to know is that if he kills someone, the cooldown is automatically reset. Even if you get killed by a regular melee attack, it will reset. Bonus point here for your knowledge, you cannot destroy Junkrat's Steel Trap or Widowmaker's mine with Swift Strike. His E ability is called Deflect, the name says it all. Genji reflects any, and I mean any, incoming projectiles and send it back to his opponents. The range of ability countered by Deflect is crazy long, so to help you, I'll give you a list of the abilities that Genji cannot deflect. Feel free to pause here and take a screenshot. It's also important to note that deflect blocks melee attacks too, even though it's not a projectile. Alright, have you ever heard Genji shout something in Japanese? Well, that's when he activates Dragon Blade, his ultimate. He unleashes his sword, gains 30% movement speed, and loses the ability to throw shurikens. So basically, he becomes a melee-only hero for about 6 seconds. Activating his ultimate also resets the cooldown on Swift Strike, even though Genji does not get a single kill. Also, it restores his shuriken back to full. These details are important as good Genji players will play around them. Now that you fully understand his kit, I'll cover the strategies that Genji players use to kill us over and over again. Flanking in medium range combat is where you don't want to fight Genji. Everything is easier in medium range combat for him. It's easier to hit shurikens, it's easier to deflect, and it's also easier to dash through you with Swift Strike. Usually the combo is to hit a few shurikens if possible, deflect some damage, Swift Strike, and add a melee while dashing if you're not dead yet. The worst thing that can happen here is letting Genji resets his cooldown. One reset and he gets away, or even worse, one reset and he can dash through to another low health target and then get another reset. I think this is where players are confused. They see Genji dash 5 times in 4 seconds and they wonder what the hell is that. Well, at least now you know. Now we get into your favorite part. How can you make Genji's life a living hell? Maybe you're a new player to Overwatch 2 and Genji has been your worst nightmare so far. Don't worry, there are tactics to easily counter him. From bronze all the way to master, these tips are the best. First, and probably the most important for you, if you take one thing from this video, it should be this: counter deflect. Depending on your role, there are multiple heroes that are not affected by deflect. We'll cover them in the next section, but take notes and master the matchups. Second tip is surviving his burst damage. There are endless ways to survive. As a tank, you should be good. Genji does not have enough burst to kill you if you're full health. For all my DPS and supports out there, if you have any abilities that help you survive like a dash, keep it. When you see that Genji closes the gap, use it to survive. Genji relies heavily on that burst. Once he uses all his abilities, he has nothing but left clicks. So he's basically in your face with no abilities. That's the perfect situation for you. He has no dash, no deflect, and you should have yours. So right there, it's a win-win situation for you. Now we get into the best picks for each role. We'll go with tank, DPS, and support in that order. I will also include honorable mentions at the end of the video. Before I start, I would like to make something very clear. All counters are counters if you actually play the matchup right. Picking a counter and not knowing what to do won't help you at all. You will most likely still lose. As a tank player, the best pick is Winston. It's easy to match Genji's mobility with Winston's jump pack. If you see Genji dive your backline, you can easily follow him and peel for your team. The same thing applies if you see Genji dash away when he's low, you can jump at him and finish him off. Well, Genji has deflect, so you can't kill him, right? Actually, Winston primary fire goes through deflect, as it's not a projectile. Also, Genji has a hard time destroying your own barrier. Basically, if you want to shut down the Genji, Winston should be your go-to pick for tanks. As a DPS player, the best pick is Echo. Now, I know some of you think Pharah is a counter to Genji, and to some extent she is, but also not. The only way she counters Genji is by flying away. However, her rockets and her ultimate are 100% countered by Genji. Try using rocket barrage on a Genji that has deflect and tell me how it goes for you. It's really not a counter. However, with Echo, you have the ability to fly away and your abilities are not countered at all. If Genji ever steps up to you, you have the ability to one-shot him. Your secondary fire and your laser goes right through his deflect. Trust me on this one, it's never mentioned, but Echo is way, and I mean way better than Pharah. As a support player, the best combo if you ever see a Genji is Bridget and Moira. They work well together as Moira's beam goes through deflect and she also has a way to escape if ever things go south. Add Bridget to the mix where you can literally just dash into Genji to peel for your DPS or your other support and start right-clicking him to death. This combo is very scary. Now, our honorable mentions. For tanks, Zarya is also good for the same reasons. Her beam is not affected by deflect. However, what Zarya is lacking is mobility in this matchup. She has no way to follow or escape Genji, whereas Winston does. For DPS, Mei is another strong pick. Her primary fire is not affected. She can freeze herself and completely negates his burst. Mei is also easier to play than Echo, so if you're having trouble with Echo or just don't like her playstyle, try Mei out. Torbjorn is good. You can place a turret and prevent Genji from flanking, but it's about the only thing you can do. Symmetra is not bad. Her beam and turrets are not affected either. However, Symmetra is not a strong hero overall. Yes, in some elos with the right team comp, it might work well. For support, Lucio works well as Sound Barrier counters Genji's ultimate. This one is straightforward. Also, Lucio's mobility makes it somewhat harder for Genji to kill him. Overall, Genji is a strong pick right now, and that's why he's getting nerfed. Dealing with him is not as easy as it seems. His playstyle is heavily reliant on being able to move and burst squishies. So for you, that means playing any hero on this list that is not affected by deflect with some tankiness or mobility. As always, if you're still here, you now fully know how to counter Genji, so apply these tips in your next casual or comp game against him and let me know how it went in the comments below.